Thank you, Edith. A lot of federal legislation that gets passed, such as that which Edith was just talking about, it doesn't have very many actionable items for consumers because federal legislation is obviously designed to affect mass change on a national scale. The IRA is different because it, or at least the parts of it that we're concerned with, it affects that mass change by putting power and money into the hands of the average Americans so that they can electrify their homes and vehicles. Why would we want to do that? Well, three main reasons. First is money, health, and climate. Let's look at those. Money. So going electric is expected to save average Americans about $1,800 a year. How is that going to happen? Well, first thing you need to know is that electricity is much more efficient than burning fossil fuels because it doesn't lose energy as waste heat. Therefore, you need less overall energy. And electricity prices are generally more stable because they come from a wide variety of sources: wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, natural gas, etc. Those all go into the electric prices. So this chart here shows you electric prices. That's the green line here in the middle. And natural gas prices, that's the gray line. And then gasoline prices, which is this brownish color there. And as you can see here, all of these numbers have spiked in the right-hand side of the screen, but electric prices, even though they've spiked, have not gone up as much as natural gas or gasoline. So gas prices are much more volatile than electric prices. And even though we may love it when that spike is going down, we hate it when it goes the other way. And it's really hard for people to budget when your monthly bills are so volatile. So going electric can lead to lower bills, both from increased efficiency and also from more consistent electric rates that are not having people experiencing these huge spikes throughout the year. The second reason electrification makes sense is health. We've known for years, for decades, that outdoor air pollution can cause a multitude of health problems, up to and including death. A lot of people die early from pollution. And now the evidence is becoming increasingly clear that indoor air pollution is also a huge problem, especially indoor air pollution caused by natural gas appliances. Those have a negative effect on our health. And in fact, recent studies have shown that natural gas is responsible for about 12% of childhood asthma cases. Third reason the legislation is important is climate. Now you can see from this graph that the United States greenhouse gas emissions have been going down. That's a good thing. But if you look over here where we're at, business as usual, before the IRA was passed, we're way up here and our Paris target is way down here. So we're looking at about 27% reduction in emissions between 2005 and projected out to 2030 before the IRA was passed, which is a long way from our Paris target of 50% reduction by 2030. Now, after the IRA was passed, right here, you can see in the green that the Inflation Reduction Act can get us to about 40% of our goal, 40% reductions of greenhouse gas emissions compared to 2005 emissions. But notice that this green dotted line, it kind of falls in the middle of the green section. This is the uncertainty range. We could hit 40%, or we could stay somewhere around 27%. Maybe we'll even do better than 40%. Scientists can model the impacts of how much our emissions will decrease if we do this or we do that, which is where that uncertainty falls in. But what they can't do is tell us how we're going to behave. So the reason home electrification becomes so important in achieving these targets is that there is a lot of home energy use that is still reliant on fossil fuels. In your home, The two biggest contributors to your carbon footprint are home heating and water heating. Home heating is about 25% and water heating is about 10%. Now, we don't replace our home heaters or water heaters every day, like we put on new socks, or every year, like, maybe we upgrade, get new tennis shoes or something every year. But when we do replace these items, we have to do it because you can't live without heat. So when it's time to replace these items, the IRA makes it easy. It's going to be a no-brainer that you're going to want to go to an electric one or a gas appliance over a gas appliance, or an EV over a gas car, because the IRA is going to make it very economically appealing. The reason this is important is because when we talk about having a clean grid run by solar, wind, hydro, etc., we could get all of those things onto the grid, but we're never going to get rid of natural gas unless homes and businesses get rid of all the natural gas appliances in them. And you can see here on this chart that there's a huge difference. Excuse me. So this is where the IRA comes in. The rebates and credits are going to make it more affordable for people to go electric. Upfront rebates are going to be available sometime later this year. We don't know exactly when those will be available, but when they do become available, they're going to be pretty enticing. Consumers who fall under 80% of the average area median, or AMI, are going to be able to get 100% of their purchase costs covered. Consumers who make 81 to 150% of the AMI will be eligible for 50% upfront discounts. The discounts vary by appliance, but they're significant, up to $1,800 for a heat pump water heater, or $8,000 for a new home heating and cooling system. In addition, even those with higher incomes are eligible for tax credits, which are 30% for most of the eligible appliances, but there are certain things that have other amounts in the legislation, such as EVs. They have their own rebate. Whoops, I went through here twice. When you add up all the available rebates, it can be the upfront rebates, it can be up to $14,000 per household, plus the tax credits, which can bring the total incentives for a single household to more than $20,000. Now, this isn't all available in a single year. They do cap the annual incentives at $1,200 for most of the home improvements. So if you wanted to go out and do everything this year, you're not going to be able to do that. But most people aren't ready to spend tens of thousands of dollars to upgrade everything at once anyways. And this legislation is available, and the rebates and tax credits in it are available for the next 10 years. So this legislation has a lot of great incentives in it, and we're only going to talk about a few today. So I encourage you to take time after this meeting to learn more as we're talking. And as we're talking, if you want to think about your own home and what things you might need to upgrade, this is kind of some of the things that you can see. Look at this. There's everything here from electric induction stoves to heat pump dryers, even upgrades to your electric panel and weatherization, such as extra insulation in your home, can be covered. So think about it as we talk. What would you like to do? Because the money is here. You can visit this, which is the Rewiring America calculator, by going to rewiringamerica.org/app/IRA-calculator. And I think Edith is going to put that URL in the chat. As I said, there's a lot in this legislation, but I'm just going to focus on three big things: home heating and air, water heating, and transportation. Oops, going the wrong way. Here we go. So heating and air conditioning accounts for about 25% of the average American's carbon footprint. The IRA incentivizes people to replace their old systems with new heat pump systems. And heat pumps are about 3 to 5 times more efficient than most fossil fuel-based options. Plus, they will save you money over traditional systems. This slide will give you, right here, an idea of just how much money you can save every year. Now, it goes from a low of just about $100 a year to more than $1,200 a year if you have baseboard heaters. And if you do, I'm sorry, because you're paying a lot, but think how much you can save. But because home heating and AC systems are expensive, these are the items that also have the highest rebates available under the IRA. Heat pump technology can also be used in water heaters. Again, these are a lot more efficient than gas or traditional electric water heaters, and they'll save you money in the long run. So heat pump water heaters aren't new. They've been out there for a while, but consumers have not, flocked to them because they're more expensive, and most of them have required a 240 volt outlet. There are now 120 volt heat pump water heaters out there, so they can plug into a regular outlet. I know that there are 2 manufacturers now who have those on the market. And the IRA provides incentives for electric panel upgrades in some situations. So if you did want to go with the 240 volt, you might be able to also include that in your rebate or tax credit. So I should point out also an important thing about the heat pump water heaters is that these don't count against the annual limit of how much you can save or get back in rebates. So the heat pump water heater, you can go and do that. And then you can also go out and do some other upgrades to get up to that $1,200 a year max. EV incentives are also an important part of the IRA. The legislation extended the $7,500 credit for electric vehicles, but it added a lot of new requirements regarding where the car and the battery are manufactured and sourced, how much the car can cost, how much you can make. Honestly, these new additions to the federal rebate on EVs are rather confusing, and car manufacturers are scrambling to make sure their EVs are going to be eligible for the credit. So expect that the playing field for this is going to continue to change. And our website does have some more information if you want to look into that. And if you're looking for a car, I'd say, your car dealer is going to be the person to know whether or not they're eligible. However, there is a great little loophole in this legislation, and that is lease cars are eligible for the rebates, regardless of where they're sourced or manufactured. And you don't have to meet all the other requirements either. So leasing may be the way to go if you're thinking about getting an EV. We can expect EVs to continue to grow in popularity as people begin to realize that they're cheaper to drive and maintain, not to mention super fun to drive. There was a University of Michigan study that found the average cost to operate an EV in the United States is $485 a year, while the average for a gas-powered vehicle is $1,117. A little bit, depending on which study you look at, it might be a little bit different because there's some others that say it's about 1/3 the cost, and that's not quite. But they definitely are cheaper. I much prefer to fast charge my EV than to put gas in my gas-powered car. As we all know, EVs are also better for the environment. I hear some people, will push back on this and wonder, are they really better? Because, you have to mine the lithium, and then, the grid isn't that green, and you have to plug them in, and, you have to, do all this stuff. Well, I want to show you this slide. I love this map. What this map shows is the equivalent mileage you'd need to get in a gas-powered car to beat the environmental benefits of owning an EV. In California, you'd need a car that gets 122 miles a gallon or better to beat the benefits of owning an EV, despite the mining for lithium and plugging it into an imperfect grid. And as you can see, it varies across the country. In California and the Pacific Northwest, where they get a lot of their power from hydroelectric, where our grid is cleaner, it would take a lot more to be as beneficial as an EV. Now, in other parts of the country, you wouldn't have to have quite so high of a mileage, but you can see most of these are higher than the average mileage you'd get in a gas-powered car. So the IRA also included a great new benefit that should help incentivize EV ownership, and that is a tax credit for used EVs. Now, this credit is worth $4,000 or 30% of the price of the car, whichever is less. And this isn't quite as complicated as the credit for the new EVs, as it doesn't have requirements on where the car or its components are made or sourced. But it does have some limits, including the capping the car price at $25,000 and capping your income at $75,000 for individuals or $150,000 for joint filers. Now, there are a lot of other incentives in the legislation that we just don't have time to go over today, but this slide gives you a quick overview of some of them. A good place to start is with a home energy audit, which is covered up to $150. You might find in that audit that you need better insulation or better insulated exterior doors, and those are covered under weatherization. You could also get rooftop solar and battery backup. Those also have credits and rebates, and EV chargers and a lot of other things. So again, I encourage you to visit the Rewiring America website. Use their calculator. If you put in your filing status, your zip code, and your income, they'll tell you exactly what you're eligible. They'll show you all the options and just how much you qualify for. Now, we looked at this stuff. So what can you do? Right now, the tax credits are available now. If you need a new water heater, if you need extra insulation in your home, if you want the induction stove, you can get the credit from SMUD, or you can get the rebate from SMUD and get the tax credit now, or you can wait and see if you can get both. But any of the things that we just talked about, you can get the tax credits now. You won't actually get them until you file your taxes next year, but you're eligible for them now. Now, the upfront rebates, the 100% or 50%, depending on if you meet the income requirements, those aren't going to be available until later this year. We don't have an exact timeline yet. But until then, what we can do is create demand and build awareness by asking about the discounts. Like every time you go into Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware, wherever you go in, and it doesn't matter. You're going to go in and buy, I don't know, Windex, and just wander over into the appliance aisle and say, hey, I'm wondering, do you know anything about those Inflation Reduction Act rebates on induction stoves? Because we need to get awareness and education, and just talking to people will go a long way. A lot of people are unaware about this act and that they now have what we call an electric bank account, to go electric. So the more you talk about it, the more people will become educated. This is also a great way to talk to people who don't want to talk about climate change, because we know there's those people out there. You do not have to care about carbon footprints or the Paris Agreement or ending fossil fuels or any of that who want to save money and improve your health. When it's cheaper to buy an electric heat pump water heater because you got a tax credit and a rebate, and it's going to save you money every month and every year, why would you ever choose gas? The only reason is lack of knowledge about the options. So go out there, visit our website if you'd like. We've got more information on going electric. Talk to people, see what you're eligible for yourself, how you'd like to make upgrades in your life. And, let's really make sure that uncertainty range is heading closer to the Paris target and not up to the business as usual target. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for your time.